Hello guys, Sue Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 1169. Today we reacting to Parole's episode number 92. Eric Harmon, Cool Music for Kids. I was so close to this last episode. It's called Cool Music for Kids, not Good Music for Kids. But anyway, react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here. We've got such a great episode today. You know, we're always talking to different people in the children's universe world, and this is going to be a lot of fun. We have Eric Herman on this week. Eric is psychedelic rock for kids. He was in an alt band. He came in and did all of this, changed kind of what he's doing. He's got a new album out. And as he says, he makes cool music videos for kids. Eric, how are you?
Hi, Carrie. I'm wonderful. Thank you for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
You know, it's fascinating what you've done, and I really want to talk about, because you were doing something totally different, different music, and then got into the kids' entertainment world, which I found happens a lot. Like, I was a musician in college and was never looking for kids' entertainment, and I stumbled into it, and then I just fell in love with it.
Yeah. And I found it similarly too with friends and associates who do what I do. They were doing something completely different, and for a variety of reasons, circumstances pushed them in this direction. And for me, I was living in Buffalo, New York my whole life, and playing in a bunch of different bands, rock bands, progressive jam bands, a lot of alternative kind of things. And I was doing theater, live theater. I wrote a musical that was staged in Buffalo. And so there was all these different things. And then at one point in about over the course of a few months, a few different people unrelated to each other suggested to me, oh, you know, you should do something for kids or music for kids or something along those lines. For example, one of them was my brother-in-law at the time is a gym teacher at an elementary school, and he said, you know, some guy came in and did an assembly with music, and I think you could do that.
Wow.
And at the time, individually, those things, I was like, oh, I don't know. You know, I love kids, I love music, but I didn't see myself wanting to do that, certainly not for 18 years now.
Wow.
But then I think it was the combination of all of them together. And my wife, Roseanne, was also, she had had a partial degree in early childhood development. She was interested in the idea of working for kids, but she also didn't push me in any direction. Whatever I wanted to do with music, she was okay to help with. But when that confluence of encouragement sort of came together, she was all for it, and I eventually kind of came around to say, oh, you know, this could be really fun. I think I had this misperception of what children's music was, that you know, meant for, you know, very small kids, 2-year-olds, or you know, and I wanted.
You know, I want to jump in on that because I think that's interesting.
Sure.
Because I think that's what it was, right?
Well,
Barney songs were really just for the kids, just for that audience.
yeah, and he's
That's
great
it.
for that.
And that's not exactly what you're doing. Your music can definitely adults can enjoy it, even though a lot of the lyrics and things are for kids and lessons for kids. It's definitely got a more adult sound, I think, is the way
Well, when we started to do it, actually, create music for kids, the first thing I did was I went to a bunch of little different libraries in Buffalo and I took out
Wow.
all these CDs because I really didn't know. I mean, I grew up listening to Schoolhouse Rock and I loved that.
Which I'm not a huge fan of, by the way. Sorry.
Sesame Street.
Wow.
But as far as like having an album or a CD of music, like I just, for whatever reason, I had this, blind spot to what
Yes.
that could be. And I remember I took out all these CDs and oh my gosh, I just loved so much of it. And I realized you can do all kinds of different things, comedy, characters, voices, rock music, folk music, reggae, blues. It kind of didn't matter the kind of music you did as long as the focus or the lyrics had some attention or intention for children of some age. The other thing too is when we started doing it, we kind of wanted to focus towards an older range of kids, maybe 6 to 8 or something, because we realized that if you write something for really young kids, older kids, nah, they're not gonna. But if you do it the opposite way, older kids like it, and then younger kids might still kind of like, well, I want to figure out what that means, like, or they get it on one level, and then maybe later, or their parents explain what this means, or this word, or this joke. Now they can also appreciate it. I feel like it works a little more broadly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I agree. I never really thought of it that way, but I absolutely see that because the kids that were watching Barney, when he got older, it wasn't cool.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and that's
So I know what you're saying.
But and then the other approach, and I'm not saying that my way is the right way. It was right for me, or is what I want to do, but is to super target, and Barney is excellent for that really young age.
Yeah.
So and then, but yeah, not so much for 5, 6 year. Then you're probably done with Barney. But and then if you're a 10-year-old, you're making fun of Barney. It hits different stages, but
Wow.
So you kind of started that process out, and where did it go from there? Did it start into an album? Were you doing live performances? How did it start?
Yeah, and it really started with one song, which is still my biggest song. So it's all been downhill since then.
Yeah.
The elephant song,
which I was gonna get to. I didn't.
Yeah, even though the elephant song can go bark. See you on.
That was your first song.
Yeah, it was literally the first song that and that one wasn't even supposed to be a kid song. The story is kind of funny. My wife and I were watching a PBS documentary, I think it was, about elephants.
Okay.
And it was 2 elephants that grew up together when they were young, but then one of them was sent to a zoo and one of them was sent to a circus.
Wow.
Something like that, where they were separated for 30 years, I want to say. It's a very, very long time. And then they were brought back together. They had footage of them young, and then, they made some arrangements to bring them back together, and they knew each other, and they hugged each other, and it was this, oh my gosh, this heartwarming feeling that you got to realize that they still had that connection, and kind of the sadness of being separated the way they were.
Wow.
And I remember feeling like, I gotta write this song, this meaningful song, and it wasn't going to be about elephants per se, but but it would have that sort of underpinning to it. And I wrote all the music in hours. So and then I thought, oh, that's really nice. And I intended it to be this deep, meaningful, philosophical song with deep resonance. And,
wow.
And I could never get past the first couple lines of words that I had. I think it was, long, long time, missed you so much. I finally got these chains off of me. All this time, waiting for your touch. something, something, I can't remember anymore what it was, but and that's all I had. And I couldn't get any farther. Like, where's it gonna go? What's it gonna mean? It got to the point that Roseanne started making fun of me when she'd hear me working on the song. Because she knew it was that elephant thing, and I was just trying to get, and I couldn't get anywhere. And one day she walks by and she's jokingly says, "Elephants, I like elephants." It was one of these just weird things that just came out of her head, and she just started singing that, making fun of me trying to write that elephant song. Wow. And I think at the time I was like, "Oh, come on, go away, I'm working." Wow. And it was, I think the next day, I'm driving in my car and I start singing that line when I'm here, because I had the music recorded and I'm trying to come up with words. That's kind of how I work, mumbling things, trying to lock in some kind of vocal melody or lyrics. And I start singing, "Elephants, I like elephants." And again, here comes another point of strange creative magic. I got to the next line and I said, I'm trying to find the key here. "I like how they swing through trees." And at first I'm like, "What? That's that's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense." But then light bulb, because we had been talking in the previous weeks about maybe doing something in the kids' music genre. And suddenly, as much as I tried to push it away initially, this is ridiculous, forget, oh, wait a minute. This could actually be a thing where, you just get it wrong each time and it moves on to the next animal. Wow. "Monkeys, I like monkeys. I like how they swim in the ocean. And so I went home that day after work and I told this idea to Roseanne, and we, in probably 5 minutes, we did the rest of the words, rest of the lines. It was a very simple thing. Just get it wrong each time, and move on to a different animal. And it circles back to the elephant at the end. And then I remember thinking, are kids going to think this is fun, or are they going to think I'm just an idiot? Wow. Turns out it was both. It was both things. We went to get back to your other thing, how it started. Right. When I had that song, and I had learned some of the other songs from those CDs I took out from the library, a variety of different people, and songs that I liked. And I said, well, we got to do a show at some point. And one of the coffee shops that I played at in Buffalo, frequently doing, grown-up music and original songs and, I don't know, Beatles or, whatever it was, Bob Dylan. They said, come in on a Saturday afternoon and do a little thing for kids. And we had maybe 10 people show up, and, a handful of kids. And it was fine. But that one song, I'll never forget it. That elephant song, it really got a reaction, wow, the kids just... And then I remember going to a few daycares. A friend of mine worked at a daycare, and he said, you can come in and do a show. So I did 2 or 3 of those, and every time that elephant song, I would sing that song, and kids would go crazy, and they start yelling. And I remember one kid starts grabbing at my shoes and what are you doing? And they were so mad that I would get it wrong, And something about it, we realized, wow, there's something about this has power to it, or it has a value of some kind. And it really all grew from there. A few years later, we made a very simple video. This was just Roseanne putting something together in the Paint program. Wow. Microsoft Paint. Right. And, it would...
Well, years ago, I used Microsoft Paint to make LJPCBM logos, the early LJPCBM logos, and then use it for another software that Remix used called PowerPoint. And this is amazing. So nowadays, I want to use something else, because if you want to just Remix, for you, buddy. So I just wanted to do something. And it was used by Adobe software, so to make LJPCBM logo make more exciting. So I just want to do something very special for LJPCBM. So I'll keep the bug for LJPCBM, but for now it's just gonna be different. Continue on.
Only meant to be a demo. I remember she said, I think I have an idea for an Elephant Song video. Let me throw something together quick. It took her like an hour to do this. And she became embarrassed about it later when it became really popular. She's like, I didn't mean for that to like go out there. It was just supposed to be like, here's a demo. Let's hire someone to do it better, or like to animate it more. If you see the video, it's this very simple thing where you see a picture forming of an elephant, and then you see, oh, it's swinging through a tree, and then it backs up, and then there's a monkey that comes out. And again, we just didn't realize, we didn't know what we had, in a sense, you know. And I think what made that special was that the simplistic way it was drawn appealed to kids. Like it was almost like a kid drew it. Like, you know, you know, I'm not to not to diss her ability to draw, but it was meant, she did not mean that to be anything special, right? So, and I think that's what we realized, that it just had this connection. The song was simple. We had this little girl that we knew recorded. This was an important decision too, I think, because when it came time to record that song, the Elephant Song, by this time I had other songs. We'd written other songs. I worked with Ken Nesbitt. Do you know who Ken Nesbitt is?
I do not.
Yeah, he's a pretty well-known funny poetry author for kids. That Shel Silverstein,
yes,
of more recent times, I would say.
Okay.
And I connected with him. He had several funny poems that I thought could be songs, so that was a few of the songs for those. But now we had enough for an album. Okay, let's record the Elephant Song. My thought was to go to do a show somewhere and record it live with all the kids yelling and going crazy, you know. And Roseanne, to her credit, she said, parents are going to hate that.
Wow.
Because it's really, at times, could be, I've actually shortened the song when I performed it because it's a bit much sometimes. They're just yelling. It gets...
Wow.
And she said, have one cute little kid that responds to you.
Wow.
And we found this girl we knew, daughter of friends of ours. I think we tested a few different kids, and she just, if you listen to the recording, she's just adorable and has this, she has this way of responding that it's just endearing, you know, and parents and kids just find it super cute, you know, and she steals the show from me, absolutely. You know?
Wow.
But, you know, I like how they swing through trees. No, you know, just one little kid. And I think that was the brilliant choice that Roseanne made to help that become what it became.
Because you put that video, what is it, over 1 million views?
40 million or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is it that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, YouTube featured it, and that was the other thing in 2007. They had never like featured kids' music or anything like that. I mean, it's nothing. It's a thousandth of Baby Shark.
Right.
Yeah, much better than Baby Shark. Yeah, Baby Shark is a stupid show. Continue on.
Whatever it is isn't that much, but at the time it was you know, a wonderful break for us, really. We were doing okay, but that really just kind of set wheels in motion for the next several years, and a lot of performing and music and a lot of fun, a lot of good times.
So when you're doing all that, do you find that it's a little, is it easier writing for kids or is it more difficult? Because, you know, I think kids' imaginations, they can go with all of that, right? You know, I mean, obviously,
I think
a lot of those you know, raindrops and all the things that we did. So, did you?
It really depends on the it really depends on the song and the idea. I at this point, Magic Beans will be the 9th album I've put out, and I think it becomes harder to not. I don't like to repeat myself. I try to, if but it becomes hard at some point. How about no, I did that before. How about no, or trying to find new ways and new approaches.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, the hard thing is always, whether it's a kid song or other songs I've written, the idea comes maybe quickly and powerfully, and I can get the first verse and the chorus and a second verse and a chorus, and then where do I go from there?
Wow.
There are probably 5 or 6 of the 12 songs on Magic Beans where they sat for 2 or 3 years in a point of partially finished. So to me, that's always the hard part is having an idea and then figuring out a way to, for one thing, what's the best way to frame the idea or arrange it musically, how to conclude the idea in a song. Not all songs need to have conclusions. They can just be here's a simple idea, and here's a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus. Okay, yeah, that's all you need. But some of the ones that I write seem to suggest, okay, here's an idea, and then, well, where is it leading to, and how are we going to get to that point? And I like to be surprised myself. Like I don't want it to be that obvious. So a lot of times it just takes a different perspective a year later or something. Like, oh, how about this? And now I can finish that song that I was super excited about a year ago, and really into it, and then I just had to let it go for a while.
And is that a lot of, because this has been 5 years, right? In between your last album and Magic Beans?
Yeah, I think it'll be even more, 6 by the time it's actually out, maybe 6 years or so. But yeah. And part of that too is I guess the luxury of not feeling like I needed to there was a point back in the day when I was I want to have a new album out every summer because I'm going out and doing a bunch of shows, and we're scraping to get by, and it was kind of part of the machine of that, I guess, so to speak. And I was younger and I had more energy, and to do that, I look at the third album I put out was called Snow Day. It's still a favorite of mine. Every couple of years I'll throw it on and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that still holds up for me mostly. And I think we wrote all the songs, recorded them all, produced it all in a matter of 2 or 3 months or something like that.
Wow.
And Magic Beans, 6 years.
Wow.
So, but again, it was partially just we felt like we had to get this going and get it done and get it out, and and sometimes that can be great, a great means of getting things done. Deadlines are good, for artists.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things about this album and the pandemic and everything, it kept getting pushed back. Well, how about another year?
Wow.
And in one sense, I love that because I love diving into the arrangements and the mixing on this new album. There's a lot of stuff in there that would not have happened if I put it out in 2020. Spring of 2020 was the original plan. Most of the songs were done, writing at least, and partially recorded. It could have been released then, but I do think it's a lot better for the time spent since then.
Did you go back during the pandemic and just listen to it again and make those changes based on that?
Yeah, and again, it was some of the luxury of just having that time where I could put it away for a month, and I realized, I'm getting obsessive about this one song. I've now I've now tried 63 vocal tracks on it or something. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not too much. And then we get to this point where and I worked closely with Dave Petty from my band, Puppy Dog Dave, who has a nice studio and everything. But you know, we worked together apart somewhat. You know, I'd record stuff, he'd record stuff. We'd get together, and then we'd get to a point where we'd mix something, or the whole album maybe, and then oh yeah, okay, nah, let's let it sit for a month, and then then a month later we listen back and discover not just things that didn't sound good like we thought they did. We thought they sounded good, and a month later like but also just discovering new things. Oh, how about if we cut this little section here, and just it jumps right, oh my gosh, the song Merry-Go-Round, one of the videos that's out, was very much in a lot of ways, the arrangement, the pieces of the song were a bit like putting a puzzle together or something. You know, it ended up very different than it started in some significant ways that I think are better because they weren't as calculated. You know, it wasn't a lot of times I'll write a song and here's what it is, it's gonna be this and this, and you know, but sometimes if you just let go of what you think it has to be, you hear things that take it in ways that are unexpected and better for it.
I wanted to ask this earlier, so I'm going to ask this now, but I'm going to take this question and go forward, which is when you first put Elephant Song out, I've got to imagine you're thinking, what's the reaction going to be to this? So when you put it out in YouTube, and then leading to now, you know, are you excited for your fans to get to hear this new album with Magic Beans? What's it like putting an album out and kind of waiting to hear the reaction from your audience?
Well, yeah, it's very different. Like my audience is different. You know, it grows up every several years, although I still have people that still want to hear every, you know, or their kids grow up, but they still want to hear what I'm doing. I really appreciate that. But it's hard to connect the two things. It's maybe a struggle at this point, somewhat, in that, you know, I had this huge audience at one point, and then for various reasons, didn't feed that. You know, we had new videos coming out every couple months, and then through both circumstances beyond my control, Roseanne got very ill. She passed away in 2013.
So sorry.
Wow.
And, yeah, thank you. And then circumstances in our control that, you know, we were just a little burned out, a little bit, you know, I don't know, just couldn't feed that, you know. And but the amazing thing too is that this surprised me greatly to find out last year there were something like 9 million views on my YouTube channel, and I haven't put out a new video in 4 or 5 years or something. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just haven't followed it like I used to, you know, at the time. So there's still this audience there, right? And but it's also harder. I don't want to bash YouTube. I understand why they do some of this, but they made changes to the children's channels. Like you can't have comments, you can't link to other videos, which you used to. You know, I used to have at the end of the Elephant Song, I could have a little thing that popped up. Oh, check out the new video, you know, something. And it was a huge way to connect with your audience to do other things. And so that's not there anymore. So it is a little more challenging, but I am finding, you know, the stuff is getting out there, you know, and the algorithms pick it up, you know. And beyond that, more so with this album than the one 5-6 years ago, I really wrote and recorded and releasing everything in just a more state of because I want to, because it's there, and I just, you know, have joy in doing it and creating videos, and it has been gratifying that people are connecting to write and say how much they like certain things or whatever, but it's I don't have as much of that connection because there's no comments on the videos. So it's different than it was. but so are my motivations. So it kind of matches where I'm there's a part of me that doesn't care as much, you know, and I don't mean that dismissively. Like I care a lot about what I do and what I put out there, but you know, is it going to connect with 100 million people? It may not, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also okay if it does. I'm
Right,
also
sure.
okay if it does, but you know.
Sure. Well, that's got to be your comments and everything's really going to come out when you go live, right? When you're back out there.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Yeah.
It's got to be exciting to finally get back out there with a new album and.
Mm-hmm.
and see
We
what
have been
you do.
playing a few of the new songs over the past couple years, and that's been really fun too. And,
Yes.
and, great reactions that people have had to you know, some of them in different ways. We're also doing a new type of show debuting in March 18th, when the album comes out.
It's by the way, it's already been released 11 months ago, so I'm taping this reaction video. Continue on.
And this is a show that it's something that Roseanne and I talked about years and years and years ago, that we want to do something more theatrical, involving video screens and different kind of things happening, and using it for comedy and for effect and for you know, to tell sort of subtextual stories about some of the songs and things like that. I've had a huge influence at a certain point, going to Las Vegas and seeing like the Cirque du Soleil shows. The Beatles show there I don't know if you've seen that, but it's phenomenal, and I can't do that. Like I can't. I'm not a trapeze artist, but the thing about that show that impresses me so much, I've seen it 5 times now, is it's not just the Cirque du Soleil trapeze and all that. There's incredible lighting and video and props and costumes and you know, the way they remix the music on every possible level. It's just a phenomenal experience. So we are taking some of that and putting it into the show that we're doing coming up. And also on the other side of the coin, I saw American Utopia, David Byrne's Broadway show. And I thought that was phenomenal and very different, because it's more minimalist. You know, there's not really that much on stage, but they do some really creative things with lighting and the staging and the way the musicians move around and everything. So somewhere between those two things is the show that I'm trying to do. And the last time I was in Vegas, I saw a Blue Man Group. I saw the Beatles show again. I saw Meow Wolf, the Omega Mart thing that they're doing, and I realized this is what I'm trying to do. So that is the ultimate goal of this show, is to bring it to Vegas. I have done several shows there over the years, but I'm trying to, you know, the show we're doing in March is in my hometown here at a theater. It's kind of the demo, like the proof of concept, and we're getting footage, and I'm going to try to get that around the world and elsewhere.
Yes.
Appearing on
love
Venus.
That. How do you? Because I love all those shows you're talking about, and I think it's fabulous. What do you do to change it a little bit for a kid's audience?
Well, yeah, and thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I meant to say that what I realized when I was there in October is that kids were at these shows. And I remember the Beatles show, a little girl was on the aisle next to us and just laughing and just, you know, amazed. And I realized that there isn't that kind of audience being served, in a sense. I looked up an article one day. I was looking for something to do. I had a Saturday afternoon free, or Friday afternoon or something. What do you do in Vegas during the afternoon? And the article pointed out a couple of things, but it also said something like, oh, it's kind of an underserved market, you know? So, you know, as I envision it, my best case scenario is Magic Beans, a interactive family extravaganza, or actually we call it a musical, theatrical, magical, and beanical family experience. And I can picture that at in a theater in Vegas someday, or one of the casinos. That's you pass through the shops and all that. Oh, here's the Magic Beans Theater. I have this vision of that, and I hope to see it come true someday. But I think, yeah, for one thing, it's my songs. It's our songs.
Sure.
So that it's already speaking on that level.
Sure.
But and the way that some of the comedy is, I mean, Blue Man Group is very family friendly. I don't think there's anything, as I recall, adult about it per se. But the kind of jokes again, but also again, the way we've written the show is it works. It's written probably towards upper 9-10-year-olds and grown-ups are going to get some jokes that the 4-year-olds aren't going to get, and that's okay. Right? Or they explain it to them later, why everybody laughed at that one point,
Wow.
Well,
so there's a recurring theme of Magic Beans, which I love the idea of just something that seems small and insignificant, these little beans that grows into something incredible, which it can be a person, it could be a universe, it could be a song,
Yes.
all kinds of things. I love the connection of that thematically. And there's just one joke. A character walks out on stage, and these are in between songs that we do. We have different interludes that build on this idea of Magic Beans. He walks out with a big Starbucks coffee cup. Magic Beans.
Wow.
Grown-ups are gonna get that.
right.
Kids aren't gonna get it, right? But so that kind of thing. But I do think the whole show always still works for 5 to 10-year-olds.
Wow.
And how do you? I'm guessing this show that you're going to do the demo. You're testing that out as well. How the audience reacts and make adjustments and things.
Sure. This this show we're doing 6 performances, 2 for schools and then 4 public ones over a 5-day period in March.
Wow.
And it's kind of like when a Broadway show opens. Well, it wasn't on Broadway first. It was in Boston or Chicago first, and they kind of tweaked it a little bit and worked out some kinks. So that's kind of what we're viewing this as a premiere. It's like we're going to make this as good as we can. But yeah, I imagine next time we go to Seattle is kind of the next point, because it's close and it's big, and I've played there a lot. And then hopefully Vegas or LA or somewhere else. By the time it hits those different things, we'll have changed a few things or rewritten a few things. I actually want the show to be a little different each place too. It's kind of the way some of the nature of it works. For example, there's, like I said, there's these interludes, and I think the opening one is locked in. I love that we have this opening sequence that I think gets you into the idea of it really well. But some of the interludes, maybe at some point we're like, oh, well, let's write a different one because we're here, or just because we want to do something different, Right.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about Magic Beans, about the new music, and you had mentioned this to me right before we started this, so I think we got to start there with your song "Stinker," as a reference to my favorite Purple Dinosaur.
Yes. Okay. Well, I hate to spoil it. I'll just give. There is
It's just a teaser. We're not going to spoil it. It's just a little teaser.
Coming up on February 18th is the next new video from Magic Beans. Currently, there's 3 ones already out there: Googly Eyes, Merry Go Round, and Side Scroller. Go watch them 4 million times.
Which, by the way, it's already out nearly a year ago. Continue on.
Well, I've added to that.
Or not, as I said before, whatever, it's fine. But
I have added to that count because I have watched them.
Oh, good. Thank you. So the next one is February 18th, and it's called Stinker. And it's kind of a simpler one.
Which, by the way, it's already out near a year ago, like I said. Continue on.
The first 3, those were pretty epic things, each of them in their way. This is just a simple song about a kid. It's kind of his faults and his shortcomings. I'll just spoil a little bit of it. The first verse is, I will never be afraid of the dark as long as you keep on the light. I
Wow.
will never be someone who complains as long as everything's just right.
Well,
I will be so patient as long as I don't have to wait. And I am always humble. I think that's what really makes me great. You
Wow.
know, so it's these, and he's singing this, and I don't know, I envision it as, you know, kind of a self-reflective thing of, when I was a kid, yeah, I had those qualities. I still do, maybe in different ways, but
wow.
and it's done as a ballad. This was another thing, I guess, kind of like the Elephant Song, where I thought I was
This
writing
is Elephant called Bark. Like I said, continue on.
something a lot more serious, because the music, I had this little. You know, very kind of a pretty, almost a lullaby. You know, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a sweet, you know, maybe spiritual kind of song or something. And then for whatever reason, that first line came out. I will never be afraid of the dark as long as you keep on the light. You know, and even then, that first line, you're like, because it's not overtly like some of the later ones. Like I'm always humble. That's what makes me great. That's more obviously, you know, stinkery, I guess. But but I like how that I meant to do one thing again, and it turned into a completely different thing. And there's a part in the bridge of the song, and I don't want to spoil it because it is. I think it's one of the funniest parts as you lead into it and you see where it goes. But there is a definite reference to your former character,
So
Mr.
you're
Barney.
gonna check that out.
And I believe we've carefully avoided direct copyright infringement. It's Barney-ish, the depiction that you see.
Exactly. Continue on.
Showed you. Carrie said I should be okay, but
Yeah, I think you're gonna be good. I think you're gonna be good.
Right.
What I'm thinking about all this is we're talking about this album, and I'm curious when you're writing these songs and you're putting a message out there. For now, we're talking about right 6 to 10, 8 to 10. Do you go? Maybe that one's going to be over their head, or maybe that one's too simple. You know, we were doing songs for 2-year-olds, so we knew to go really simple.
Yeah, and I guess
really think about that when you're putting this.
Well, it's something that Roseanne and I talked a lot about. For one thing, primarily, I try not to be messagey. I try to be more entertainment. You know, and again, not to at all to criticize people who are, you know, there is a wonderful segment of people who do music for kids that have great messages and they portray them in great ways. More of the time, that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just trying to kind of a little skewed look at things, different lens on how you look at life, maybe, you know. There is one song. Well, there's definitely songs with messages on all my albums and in a lot of what I do, but I feel like they're more subtextual. They're kind of googly eyes. You know, you could say it's a pretty simple song about this kid who puts googly eyes on everything.
Okay.
It becomes increasingly, he puts them on the Statue of Liberty and then the pyramids and all these things. And you know, I imagine this is a case where maybe it's good that there aren't YouTube comments, because I would probably get some from parents like, you're encouraging kids to put googly eyes on whenever it's graffiti or something, you know.
Right.
And the I guess my subtextual message there is just the freedom of artistry, you know. And it's something I feel like this kid has this is his art form. And you get to this point where he fantasizes later about someday I can work for NASA and I'll put giant googly eyes on the moon, and then everyone will look up and see, and they'll be like, oh, this is beautiful. Now I get it, you know? And it's really just in his mind. But, you know, to me, there is still this underlying message of, you know, your art is worth pursuing, and, you know, and yet you're going to face challenges for it. And in the whole video and the song, he gets in trouble every time. So, so there is that, right? There is one song called Mushroom Pizza.
My number one favorite, pizza. Continue on.
Beans, and it's so far I would say a lot of people's favorites that they've heard. We've played it live. It's not out there yet. It'll be out when the album's released. You can hear it, but and it's a song really about tolerance, and you know, there's you could attach it to a lot of things, but on the simplest level, it's just me not liking mushroom pizza, which I don't. This is true. And like taking that to an extreme where I want to banish all mushroom pizza from the world. Like, you know. And then the two guys in the band, Ben and Dave, kind of school me on it. A little bit like the Elephant song in that sense, where it's like, wait a minute, Eric, you know, and I think the way that I was a little hesitant about that too, about how to, because this is, you could interpret it as pretty messagey in some senses, but I think here's where the comedy helps it, right? There's this underlying level of absurdity about it, but also there's a lot of small comedic moments. The guys in the band are funny the way they react to me, and it goes in directions you don't expect too. Again, I don't want to spoil it, right? But it builds in a way, and so I think, in as much as there is any message that I'm trying to get through,
you okay?
There are some things about be kind, be creative, be fair, be yourself, be artistic, and you know, there are some underlying themes and messages on this album for sure. But I think for that song, and in as much as I try to do that, I think it's smoothed over by comedy or by being something that's maybe vague or able to be interpreted in different ways. And I don't want to tell parents or anybody specific things, but you might take one thing from it, another person might take a different thing from it. That's okay, you know.
Does it take a lot longer to put an album together like this because of it being a kid's album?
Not necessarily. You know, I think a lot of the time factor had to do with, first of all, like I told you before, is that I tend to write songs and then I stop halfway through the song. Right. I'm just like, where do I go? All right, I guess I'll come back to that next year or something.
Right.
Because literally the last album we put out was 2016. I think later in 2016, 3 or 4 of the songs started getting written. Side Scroller, first couple of verses of that. Stinker was about half done at that point. And then it got to 2018. Oh, we got a few more songs. Oh, let's start talking about doing an album here.
Okay.
And then, but again, now we still had these kind of half songs, and some of those started to get finished. And then 2019 is when we really started recording and arranging. Remember what I said? Spring of 2020 we'll put it out. Well, and then, I mean, yes, we could have, but the idea still was that, you know, you put something out and now you want to go out and perform it and promote it. So that's why we kept, you know, pushing it back. So a lot of it just had to do with, you know, the time frame of finishing the songs. Again, I'm glad we waited at a certain point because some of the people that performed on the song, on the album, Jeff Walling plays drums, and I knew him from Buffalo many years before. And we only reconnected on Facebook, I think, late 2019. I was like, oh my gosh, Jeff. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in 20 years or something. Oh, he was a great drummer. You know what? I was looking for a drummer to play on this album. There it was, so if it had happened sooner, that wouldn't have worked out. So things like that, and the way some of the songs were arranged was, I definitely benefited from that extra time. But it wasn't necessary. I know people who, well, like I said, Snow Day, I did that in 2 or 3 months. We had no songs written, recorded, and nothing, and it all came together very quickly like that. So,
well, I was just curious because of your audience, because of a kid's audience, does more have to go into that? Is the message there or not there? Is it fun enough? Is it this or that compared to when you're writing for adults? A lot of times you're just writing your songs and putting them out there. Not always, are they going to like this or not? Does any of that go into it when you're writing for kids?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that a second?
Yeah, no, basically, I'm just curious when you're writing for kids, because it's a little bit of a different ball game, right? Is this song over their head, or do I care, or is there a message or not a message, or will they get the joke, or will they? Where for adults, you can just kind of write a song, and they like it or don't get it.
Right.
That's what I'm curious.
On some level, I'm always writing stuff for myself first, and it sounds selfish, but you're the person that has to live with it the most, and so, and then I guess I'm channeling that 10-year-old in me, which is always there. I'm always still, and at some point I think, okay, I think this could resonate with an 8-year-old or something, maybe not, but that at that point I'm like, okay, this I can go forward with this. But there is some reflection on how well does something work. Is the message clear? Are the lyrics clear? There's a lot of that, but I don't know that it necessarily takes more time. It's really because you can compress. If bands go into a studio for a week with nothing and come out with a whole album, and so I mean, if you have that focus, part of my problem is that I'm traveling around, or I'm doing shows and doing other things. Again, I don't have the same necessity that I did the early years when my family.
He said, "Bear the necessities. Disney's the Jungle Book." Continue on.
Not eat tonight if I don't go and get this thing going and all that. So it's there's the luxury of time in that sense. But at that point it just becomes a question of when does it feel finished, or and that's really hard too. That's hard to know. But good question.
Is the Puppy Dogs, that's your band, are they involved in the process?
Yeah, oh yeah. Several of the songs we either came up with some aspect of it together, like a lot of times, especially me and Dave, just sitting around playing music together, and then how about this chord change, or this little sequence side scroller, that little thing, that was just me and Dave switching up instruments. My guitar is my main instrument, and a lot of times that can limit you when you're trying to create something, because you tend to go to the same places or some of the same chords. Well, Dave had this cheap old little Casio keyboard or something in his basement, hooked it up. He got on guitar and played some chords, and I started, just by accident, came up with this little thing on the keyboard, and again, that's all it was initially, right? And then I had this idea that it sounded like a video game theme or something, right? So we slowly, it became what it became. And lyrically sometimes too, Dave and I, Ben helped with Side Scroller. He was more the expert on that, on those. I've played a lot of video games, but he's played a lot of Side Scroller specific video games. So he fed me all these things that later I turned into lyrics. And Dave and I, at some point, months before Googly Eyes, we talked about what if there's some song or something about some kid who like puts googly eyes on everything, and that's all it was. Like, like the Mona Lisa, and it just, make it absurd. And I forgot about that for months, 7 or 8 months or something, and woke up in the middle of the night one night, and suddenly, and I started writing out all the lyrics of Googly Eyes. It came out strangely, but it had to. The seed had to be planted in my brain months prior. So those guys helped a lot with various songs in various ways, and they're tremendous on the album. I love so much of what they add to it. Ben on accordion and piano, and Dave is a monster at about 43 instruments, and he does all these. I'll say, Dave, add some vocal harmonies to the end of Side Scroller. And he comes back with like 14 different tracks that are all harmonized. And it's almost too much. I'm like, no. But almost all of it was good. And I ended up, picking a few things to use from it. And it's a good problem to have when someone gives you, here's 5 takes and they're all really good. That's a good problem to have.
Excuse me.
But does it slow down the process a little bit? Because now you're like,
It can, yeah. It can, yeah. I remember there's a song, Really Asleep. It's on the album. And Ben sent me an organ part for it. And he just sent one track. He said, here, is this in the ballpark of what you want even? And I said, that's exactly what I want. Don't record anything else.
No.
Because then I would have had the problem where, now I have 4 different takes. I got to figure out what pieces to use. No, that was just really awesome as it was. Don't give me any more. But usually I would want a few different takes, and I'll kind of, merry-go-round, he sent me a bunch of different stuff. I said the first thing he sent me piano, and it was more pastoral, if that makes sense. Like, it was beautiful. Wonderful piano, but it was kind of not what I was feeling, and I said, how about mystical instead of pastoral? And he's like, okay. So then he sent me another 4 or 5 takes, and oh my gosh, it was mystical. But then again, even from there, like and I mentioned this before with Merry-Go-Round, the arrangement on that took a lot of different directions.
Wow.
He had piano through much of the whole song. And I remember it was the challenge for me, and this is like the editor part of a musician, right? Is you go back and you say, it only really needs something here, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though the rest of it is really nice, it stands out better if it's only in certain places, and it helps everything else stand out better. And you know what I mean? Anyway.
No, I absolutely love it. This has been such a pleasure talking to you and hearing about it.
Yeah.
And I know you got your guitar there. Could you play something off the new album?
And this is a song, I don't know if you've seen the video maybe, but where the first thing I came up with was just this little guitar part. Merry-go-round, merry-go-round. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I played that over and over for like a half hour. Just that little bit. Merry-go-round. And at first I'm like, that could be the whole song. Just like 3 minutes of that over and over. Because really I was thinking of, the earth as a merry-go-round. The galaxy as a merry-go-round. Life, it's just, thinking on that scale. And really it almost hurts the idea to add lyrics to it, right? I think because it's just that drone of it, or the hypnotic nature of it. Merry-go-round. Now you realize, this every day is a merry-go-round. But then as the day went on later, and the next day, and I'm like, oh no, I think it needs some context, So I ended up writing one verse. I said, okay, it's just going to be this one verse. Now that I wrote another one, wrote another
Wow.
one. So it ended up being 3 verses, and I love it regardless. But I think it could just be that one simple idea. Anyway, I'll just play it for you. How about? You hear the guitar okay? Every day, every night, spinning through dark and light, find your place, hold on tight, smile and wave, merry-go-round, merry-go-round. Every life, big and small, here on this turning ball, we are part of it all. Smile and wave, merry-go-round, 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 merry-go-round. Every day, you and me, whirling round endlessly, Milky Way, galaxy, smile and wave, merry-go-round, merry-go-round, round and round and round, round and round and round and round, round and round and round and round and round, round and round, round and round and round and round, round and round and round and round and round. Every day, every night, spinning through dark and light, find your place, hold on tight, smile and wave. Merry-go-round.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love the simple of the best. I think that's a great thing that you can do with kids' music. It can be that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Smile and wave, merry-go-round. This is it. This is it. This is the ride, and this is the ride, and we are the riders.
Yes, yes.
Enjoy the ride.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show.
It's fun to meet you, Gary. I really appreciate it.
Let everyone know, and we'll put it in the notes of this, but where can everyone find the album when it comes out? When does the album come out?
March 18th. It should be on all of the things, you know.
Which, by the way, it's already out nearly 11 months ago, as I mentioned before. T1.
And it's essentially
Apple and Google and all those things.
It's essentially free for if you have any of those things, right? I am making a limited amount of CDs that will include an extra song that's not on that. And eventually vinyl. That's all backed up.
Which I have a vinyl collection. Continue on.
Though for a long time, but and then the music videos, go to YouTube, look up Eric Herman. Or for my channel should be there, or especially the new ones. I'd love people to see Googly Eyes, Merry-Go-Round, Side Scroller. Coming up February 18th is Stinker with a Barney reference.
Which I, by the way, got, it was nearly a year ago. Continue on.
And then March 18th, the song Magic Beans, the music video for Magic Beans, which is, by the way, it's a 3D VR music video.
Which, by the way, it's already been, released nearly 11 months ago. Continue on.
There will also be a 2D version. You can still enjoy it, I think, for what it is. But yeah, it was created to be seen with VR goggles and everything. It's really, really cool. The song Magic Beans, the video for that, the album Magic Beans, and then the debut of the stage show that for the public that day, March 18th also.
And then any upcoming tour dates and all that will be on your website?
Yeah, EricHermanMusic.com, or just look up Eric Herman on Google. I think I'll come up first. There was a football player named Eric Herman who stole some of my Google things.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah, I saw that when I was the reaction video of this. He was born in 1989. It was good. He didn't steal anything. It was a different time of Eric Herman. Continue on.
A little while, but I think I don't know if he's playing anymore, but
let me see. According to Wikipedia, let me see. Born 19, he was drafted since 2013. Nope. Yep. He waived the Colts. Yep. He retired now. Continue on.
Thank you so much. Good luck with the new album. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Carrie. Really great to meet you. Take care.
Nice meeting you. And thank you for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open, and you'll find your purple road. We'll see you next week.
That was Eric Herman, Cool Music for Kids, Purple Roads, episode 92. Oh my god, it's gonna get very exciting. I've never seen Eric Herman on Cool Music for Kids before in my life, but I'll see what I can do to listen to these children's music songs. Though I really wish I could listen to these, but that's just me. That was LJPCBM episode number 1169. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be Purple Roads episode 93, which is going to be about my reaction video to, let's just say, Purple Roads podcast on, Dennis the Fish from Stanley. Till next time, Sue Jones and Bob for baby. We can watch reaction episode. Turns it out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.